hybrids. Read Dr. David Jacobs' work on the threat and the interviews that he's had with people. He refers to them as aliens. They are not aliens. There are actual hybrids in existence that people are reporting as aliens. And so this is very important that this generation understands this, that this is very big, this is the end game, and we have very little time left.
Yes.
So anyone else want to comment? I said there's Susan, Julie, thank you, Connie, Susan, Julie, and Jennifer Diane. There's three more that have not had any concluding thoughts or comments.
I do, Doug. This is Susanna.
And I was just looking back in Genesis, and I think the reason I am willing to come on and talk about this is a part of my life is because of when you read on in Genesis and why the Lord brought the judgment that he did through the flood. He saw the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart were only evil continually. He was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. The earth was full of violence, and the fact that there is this Nephilim outbreak again in this time is evidence of the times that we're in.
Yes.
And the condition of the world and the fullness of the iniquity. And as that fullness of iniquity is coming forth, we know that the time of the Lord is drawing near. And so this is just evidence of where we are at.
Yes. Amen.
That's why I am speaking out to those who don't know the Lord. And as you said, our time is short. And so this gives testimony to that.
Yes. Okay, Julianne, Diane, which one? Who's next? There's lots of space there. Somebody needs to speak.
I don't really have anything to add.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you, Julie. How about you, Jennifer Dunn? Do you have anything that would represent any closing thoughts that you would like to add to in terms of as you've been listening to the other ladies speak? She must have. She probably had to get off the air. Maybe it was because it's late. She has to get up early and go to work in the morning. So I would just say, with reference to Jennifer Diane, since she's not here with us, that the level of fragmentation in this young lady is as max as anyone I've ever seen in this particular category of trauma. So I just commend all the ladies for being willing to do this. I know this is never easy. This was not something that I personally look forward to, but I wanted to address those out there that are trying to come up with some of the kind of explanation of how these hybrids are going to come into existence. I would like to just close with this, and I'm going to just ask James to give us any thoughts, because you've been working with Barbara and others for a number of years, James. So any concluding thoughts that you might have, I welcome that, but I would like to just make two distinctions here. We have the first generation offspring, the days of Noah, hybrids. These are the prototypes. Now, the rest of mankind that's going to be deceived, there's all kinds of GRIMS technology, as Tom Horn has done so well in his Forbidden Gates, that's going to make it possible for mankind to make the transition to that which will ultimately result in the mark of the beast, which will most likely be the introduction of some kind of nanobot, biological nanobot that will transform their DNA, which will, they are now beyond human category, and they will become, in a representative way, the closest proximity to the Nephilim, and therefore all those who receive this mark will be damned. That's what the Scripture teaches. So there's two categories. We have the human race that are not Nephilim, that are going to be brought into this transformation. This is the transhumanism, singularity, omega point. But we have the prototypes, which are the avant-garde. This is the quintessential of Satan's endgame. This is, that can only be described as the direct fulfillment of Jesus' prophecy in Matthew 24:37 and Luke 17:26. And I have a concluding statement here, but I want James. You have any thoughts? You've been listening, and as a counselor and someone who has walked a very long and costly journey along with your dear wife, Marilyn, with Barbara, do you have any thoughts that you'd like to add, having listened?
Well, as you invited me to speak, the thought that formed for me was a double one. One, just to say, as a student of the Word, as a preacher for 25, 30 years and so on, I just lend my testimony to the just how much what we're experiencing, and that in our generation and what these ladies are bringing forward, how much that just simply validates the Scriptures and makes sense. It just makes perfect sense that this is the way the Scriptures will be fulfilled. I mean, this is what they have said. This is the way it's coming down. Beyond that, I'd just like to say that my own relationship with Barbara primarily, but all these others who have spoken, I know them personally, and I know even some others who are Nephilim mothers. And just speaking for myself in terms of my relationship with them, I am absolutely convinced of the authenticity of their testimony because of the context of their lives and my relationship with them. And so to who all are listening, here's one guy who knows these ladies, and some of them better than others, but can say these are authentic testimonies. These women have no reason to make this stuff up and to go public with what they know to be untruths, but just the opposite. They have every reason to keep this quiet, either for shame of it all or for threat of what will come upon their heads by the very sons they've borne when they do these, when they give this testimony. So it's a brave and courageous thing. It's an authentic thing. It's real, and I thank the Lord for the privilege of knowing each of them. So there's my thought, Doug. Thanks.
Well, thank you, James, and I appreciate James' commitment to working. I first met James and his dear wife, Marilyn, a number of years ago, back in the latter 90s when you brought Barbara to me in Tulsa. And at that particular time, we got to know you and to connect with you more. And it's been a real privilege to be able to work with you and see you just grow in your understanding and ability to help people like Barbara. And so I am very grateful you're there. I'm very grateful for Marilyn and her close support, and she's witnessed these things. Marilyn, are you there, Marilyn?
I am here, Doug.
Do you have anything that you would like to add? Because Pastor James is your husband, and you have been by his side through hundreds and thousands of hours of counseling. You know Barbara. Are there any closing comments or thoughts that you like to add from who you are in this journey, not only as a companion of James, but as a close friend and sister of Barbara?
I think the thought that overwhelms me is just I'm just flooded as I'm listening to everyone's story with the overwhelmingness of God's sovereignty in the way He has brought about this revelation and made provision for the testimony to come forward and to be believed. I, with James, am so grateful for you, Doug, and your assembly there, Morning Star Testimony church and for the way you have pioneered this work, for Sally being so brave to report to you initially, and the way you have continued on this incredible learning curve as the whole thing got bigger and more overwhelming. And had you not gone before, that you wouldn't have been there in answer to my extensive fasting and prayer when we had exhausted every source of help in wondering where to go next and how to help next. Barbara, when she was hearing voices and cutting and we didn't know what more, where else to go. And then perhaps the listening audience would have no clue, but the way you came to know Jennifer Diane is because she happens to be my niece. And God did that. That's all I can say. It's like the story of Joseph, or well, maybe a better story about God's sovereignty would be the story of Esther. I often think, who would have ever dreamt that Haman, who was being so irritated by Mordecai and thought he had the perfect plan to get rid of Mordecai and all the Jews, whoever would have thought that Mordecai's niece was the queen? And I often think about that when I think about my precious niece, Jennifer Diane. Who would have thought in all the years we were just loving and seeking to make disciples and came to love Barbara and others, that the story would go round and here my own precious niece had been abducted right at birth from her mother, my sister-in-law. I mean, not abducted by aliens, no, but by humans in a hospital. But I know. Well, she has told that on the air. So anyway, it's an incredible story of God's writing. So that's what's going through my mind, and I give Him the glory, and with James affirm the authenticity of all of these testimonies.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Meryl. Lori and Dan, do you have any concluding thoughts you'd like to add as a witness to these people, having known them and watched their journey and knowing they're not speaking from any specific altars, but this is coming out of the person that you've known and walked with for years? Any closing comments or thoughts, Lori, and then you, Dan?
Well, I just appreciate being a part of this, and I feel pretty, I don't feel qualified to say too much, because I have been an outsider, a witness of this, not a participant, But as I watch my sisters be so brave and to be willing to go on a worldwide internet program to speak this for the sake of the Lord, that's where my respect really grows for each one of them. Mm-hmm. And then for your courage too, Doug, knowing that just from personal experience what we've gone through as a result of going public, the conflict, the unseen conflict has increased exponentially. So I just really admire you for being willing to do this. And I just pray that the Lord will use it however, because at the beginning I wondered, well, now what is this about? Why are we doing this? And because it's not like we have a need to be, I know these ladies do not have a need to be affirmed. They don't have a need to hear people say, I believe you, because they know what they went through. And the rest of us who have never experienced it, nor will we ever, we trust them, we take their word for it, we watch them abreact in the counseling session. We believe them, but whatever the rest of the world's going to do with this and the rest of the Christian world, that's between them and the Lord. And I would just pray that somehow God would use this show and the others that the ladies and you have done to awaken, that the Lord would use it to awaken the church to the days in which we live, and to open the eyes of the heart. That's my prayer. that the Lord would give the people listening a spirit of wisdom and